but we are responsible as leaders in this community to move our community forward. Regardless of what the grand jury says, it's what the people of this community want their community to be known for. It's a great place to live. Some mistakes have been made, but too many people in this community are working across the region trying to make it better, and they're going to make it better.
The governor of Missouri has flat out stated he will not put up with anything close to what happened last time when Ferguson erupted in wake of the Michael Brown shooting. The National Guard is on tap. People are being told to gather water and food in preparation for potentially days of trouble. And even some residents have stated they're okay with some looting as long as a statement is made. Who at this moment is driving this panic and fear? Let's welcome back to MidPoint, retired sergeant in the Los Angeles Police Department, author of the fascinating book, Black and Blue, The Creation of a Manifesto. Cheryl Dorsey joins us. Sergeant, pleasure to have you back on the show.
Hi, Ed. Thank you for having me.
Sergeant, I mentioned those words of the governor, basically saying and putting his foot down, this will not happen on my watch, don't even try it. In your opinion, as a law enforcement official, was that the smart thing to do?
Well, certainly, and I hope that they have all these resources on standby and they won't get an opportunity to use them. I hope the citizens of Ferguson show them that they can protest in a way that's meaningful and can get the point across without having to bring out tanks and guns and have them be used against them. And so my hope is that there is no violence and that all of this preparation will have been for naught.
When you talk, though, about the citizens of Ferguson, let's also look at the possibility that there are going to be interlopers, people who will come in. Undoubtedly, there are going to be people who will come into this community just looking to create a riot. What then would be the proper procedure for the police, law enforcement, to dig these people out, to find them before it becomes a problem? It seems like we're dealing in a real intelligence issue here.
Well, you know, they have a job to do, and I expect that they'll fully do that. And so my hope would be then that for those people who have a vested interest in seeing things remain as they are, not seeing businesses looted and destroyed and damaged, because next week they're going to be needing those resources available to them as residents of the city. So I would hope that the people who live there would, when they see someone going far left of center, pull them back and say, hey, you're not living here. You're not going to have to suffer the consequences of this broken window, of this destroyed business. So stand up, be a leader, and represent your community by making sure that everyone does the right thing.
But how distressing would it be to you? We had a soundbite earlier this week, we played it a couple of times, from a resident of Ferguson who said she's okay if there's some looting. It's not a big deal if a couple of stores are burned, if there's some looting in there, as long as no one gets hurt. And then she immediately said that any incidents that happen, it will absolutely be the fault of the police. That's a frightening thing to hear from residents.
Well, you know, I can't speak to her mind and her heart, and, you know, obviously her sentiments are her own. She owns them. But what I would say just as a responsible person, as someone who, you know, wants to see what they want, which is an indictment. But if that doesn't happen, then you have to follow the proper protocols and procedures in order to effect a long-term response for that thing that you're trying to get. And so, you know, there's an old saying that you get more flies with honey, right? So do the right thing, be responsible, be decisive, be sure, but do it in a right way.
Los Angeles has seen its share of events such as this, as so have every other major city. About the minute or so that I have left here, would you imagine right now that LA, New York, other places are preparing just as much? Because I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that if this indictment does not come down as some people want, you will see some rioting in Los Angeles and other major cities.
Absolutely. You know, there's a lot going on social media that lets me know it's going to be widespread. And certainly we have our own Mike Brown here in Los Angeles, a young man by the name of Ezell Ford. And so we're waiting here for the same kind of results that you guys are waiting for there in Ferguson, Missouri. And so if something happens that's not, if it's not an indictment, then certainly there'll be widespread ramifications, and we'll be protesting here as well.
Would you think that it would be proper for the police to come out in full riot gear and prepare themselves?
You know, you asked me that last week,
I know.
So I'm going to. Police officers have a right to protect themselves, right? I'm a police officer in heart, and so absolutely they have a right to protect themselves. They have an obligation to that community to keep it safe, and that means for everybody. And to keep themselves safe. And so to that extent, whatever they need to do to be safe and to go home to their families at the end of the evening, they should be able to do, and I encourage them to do, and I stand in support of that.
And there you go. That's exactly what I thought you would say as well, because certainly the police have a right to protect themselves, and that's what a lot of people miss in all this as well. Sergeant Dorsey, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I'll look forward to the next time.
Thank you, Ed. See you then.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Break, and we return with the next chapter of Ebola in America. And perhaps, if you think about it, why a little panic was just what we needed. Just a little. Stick around, where we question everything right here. MidPoint is next.